Okay, so thank you so much for joining us on this session. I know that I would not be here if it were not for the journey that I've been on with Kawaʻa, and I can see that there are quite a few people here who have been on this journey with us as well. So aloha and thank you for being here. I'm going to start with a story that came in yesterday. Just yesterday, while we were here at the office, I picked up the phone and this mother was frantic. She was frantic because she thought her child was failing at school, failing at social interactions, failing as a student. And the sad part is her child wasn't even 2 years old yet. It's the place that we are in right now with people who are not able to, we don't know where to go, we don't know where to turn. Our children are not socially engaged. Our families are kind of floating out there quite a bit. And it took a long time to talk this mother off of that ledge of, what am I going to do? My child's not speaking yet. They're already 2 years old. They're biting children in school. She thought that, wow, this is the beginning of a really dark period of, she's going to have to take a long time to come out of it. But the truth is that we already know that in order to help support our children, number one, we have to start early. Number two, we have to help them to engage with not only other children, but we have to support the parents. Because as we know, it's the parents, both the parents' just mental health and the parents' ability to support their children. That is so important in children's success in school. For Keiki O Ka, the journey that we've been going through with Uncle Earl in culture-based education is not to create programs that infuse Hawaiian culture into what we do, is to create it as the foundation of what we do. And we would not be able to do this. I remember when we first started 25 years ago, that was the best that we could do. We figured out what the content that we wanted our people to get, and we figured then what kind of neat activities we could add to that. That would have been, oh gosh, well, that works with that, and that would work with that activity. And it wasn't until meeting Millie and Earl Kawaʻa that our focus of our programs turned from Hawaiian activities to putting culture as the foundation of what we do and building from there. Because for us, it's not enough to teach Hawaiian culture without there being a reason or a destination that we are trying to get our families to. And we found that teaching family or having family strengthening be our destination, we do it through culture-based education and family engagement. And we've been very fortunate to have Earl Kawaʻa leading that charge for over 10 years with us. Everything from the building of our hale to our incredibly successful and popular Bordenstone classes, to the building of rock walls, to, of course, making kalo and kulolo and how to make lo'i and everything that comes into play with that. How to strengthen fathers, how to strengthen families. All of this has been part of what he infuses into what you think is going to be a class about making a board, ends up being a parenting class, a class about how to bring couples back together and make them fall in love again, a class that helps you to remember everything that you forgot but was still there right below the surface, a class that brings and makes the Kūpuna in the family all of a sudden raised to a new level as their status and their knowledge is acknowledged and brought back to, wow, this is all the stuff that you guys have been talking about to us for years. Now we see how it's important. And especially in a time like this, where we're dealing with so many unknowns and things that are uncertain with COVID and just the world in general. A return to a simpler life, a return to things that are important and using what's around us and growing our own food and fathers feeling light. As long as there's kalo in the ground, now have a board and a stone, and I'll always be able to feed my family. The click that happens in the head of dads that make them feel a little bit more confident and comfortable during this time. These are all things that he has brought along with just teaching a board and stone class. It's been so much more. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let this whirlwind take over. Okay, go ahead, Kawaʻa.
Hui, pehemene ia oko A Pau, ena po e mai ka moku o ke ave a hiki I ka moku o ka helelani. To all of you who live in this place called Hawaii, from the island of Niihau to Kahelelani, to Hawaii Island, a hiki I ka wahi I Moeaku, and to the south where the sun sets, aloha. Pela pu ho'i ia oko I noho ai ma ka aina hau. And to all of you who live on the mainland and joining us, aloha mai. Ya oko A Pau e ka poe o ka honua, and all of those of you in the world, eat your heart out. Join us in Hawaiʻi Nei. Aloha gang, I am Kawaʻa and I am from Halawa Valley, Molokai. If you don't know enough about me, I don't intend to tell you everything about me because all you will hear is know about Earl Kawaʻa. You should have by this time taken some time to research, to know about me, so I don't need to spend much time for you. Today's topic is going to be on board, like this here. Can they see it? A board and stone in every home. And this board has a name, and it is part of the teaching. And all you need is a kuʻi like this to be able to do the work with an attitude and a behavior for learning, lifelong learning, and academic success. About 10 years ago, I was at the University of Hawaii in a TEDx talk. Momi was in the audience. She heard me speak, and after the session was over, she said, I want this for my program. And that was the beginning. I went back to Molokai to do a Bordenstone class to teach kuʻi on Molokai at Kilohana School, where I attended when I was 15 years old, at 9th grade. You know, I had to take 12 boards and 15 stones from Honolulu because I could not find boards and stones on Molokai, the land I was raised in Manaʻe, where every family had a minimum of 2 boards and 5 stones, if not more. So e hoʻiana mai ma Oʻahu nei, I returned to Oʻahu, kau mahalo o Keiki Kanaka mai Molokai mai. And this Halawa boy was burdened by it. And I said, if we don't do, and if I don't do anything, that part of our history will die. And thus the beginning of Bordenstone, which has helped nearly Momi, several thousand people have taken our class. Yeah. And it is, Bordenstone is not a class that is focused on making or the construction of it. The construction is a small part of the class. The big part of the class is Ike Hawaii, going deep. What does that mean? Look at this pōhaku. For many people, this is a pōhaku, but for Kawaʻa, there's a pōheo, kuʻau, ka'e, and mole. And each of those names have a mo'olelo. When people teach about stones, those lessons do not come out. For me, and Pauahi, what Pauahi wants, and what Momi wants, and what we all want as kumus, is to pass on ha in the lesson. Ha, breathe life into the lesson. I was in a class on campus yesterday, and the subject was on genealogy, and the genealogy outline with mom and dad, and then it extends to into the past. So when the person finished talking, and I said, That was a good class, but it was an intellectual class because we did not talk about the importance of your genealogy. We didn't say it was more so about how to fill out the form and very little about the importance of the history of the individual and the names of those individuals. So from this point on, that kumu said, I'm going to change, I'm going to readjust. That's putting ha in the lesson. Bordenstone, like many of the other classes that I teach, mele inoa, that is writing songs, dads writing songs for their dad, for their daughters. Mele inoa no kamaku hine, mothers writing songs for their sons, or teaching la'au, 5 basic la'au that every Hawaiian needs to know, to be able to grow something in your garden and know how to grow from a cultural perspective and a Western perspective is also very, very, very important. So my lecture today, in the short time that I have, which is 1 hour, and that is really a restraint because I like talking for about 4 hours, at least. But given the time, I will be dropping pearls. So please listen carefully of the pearls that I drop along the way. So ʻAoikaika Nā is the first. To be able to teach what you are teaching and go deeper. And go deeper. And that going deeper has to have a Hawaiian component. We at Kamehameha School, and we are told by Pauahi, is that we want our children to be akamai. And we want our families to be akamai. And we want our dads to be good dads. There was a dad in my class, and I looked at him and I said, "Brah, you're a tough guy, huh?" And he kind of nodded his head very proudly, like this. Yeah, I'm a tough guy. And I said to him, "And you're rough with your daughters, your 3 beautiful daughters." And he kind of pulled back a little bit. And then I said, "And you are." I said, "Because you wear your strong attitude on your shoulder." See, what Kawaʻa is not afraid of, Kawaʻa is not afraid to face the issues at hand. That requires training for all of us to do that. Those who are in my Ho'oponopono classes are learning to exert themselves, which is called pa'akekaula. That's a pearl, gang. Pa'akekaula, to hold the line. So I held the line with this dad. He stood about 6'1", and here I am, and 6'1", about a good 160 pounds. You can see all the girth that this guy has. I mean, he is powerful and he's strong. He's strong physically, but I am strong in the head and I'm strong spiritually, so I'm not afraid of him. To overcome fear, we all need to go to class again. And we can do that. We can learn that. The story goes on. And he admits that he is a strong dad. And I said, in your strong behavior and attitude, sometimes the 4-letter word that does not spell A-L-O-H-A comes out. And his eyes got big and he pulled back and he said, very softly, yeah. He admits. And I said to him, when your daughters grow up and they're dating men, they're going to choose men that sound loud, that talk rough to them, and use the 4-letter words, and they're going to accept it because you make that normal. The dad took a step back. His eyes were wide open. His shoulders were back, and he used the 4-letter words and says, I don't want that for my daughters. The man changed on the spot. We in power position need to be able to change attitudes and behavior for lifelong learning and success. Yeah. It is incumbent upon us to learn that. And the information that we need are right around us. Certainly for us at Kamehameha School, we are not short of individuals with ike who can teach. I know that. But it is not enough for us at Kamehameha Schools to just keep it at Kamehameha Schools, because Pauahi's children attend public schools as well. We need to extend the reach, and Kamehameha has extended the reach for many, many years. Extending the reach in 2021, according to Jack, is that he wants us all to teach at a deeper level, to teach at the next level, for us to be able to do that. And for those of you who live on the mainland, it says, we are as close to you are as a computer for learning and information. You need to assert yourself to say to Jack, to say to Mark, my former boss, he says, I am Kawa'a's boss, but he tells me what to do. Yeah? And to be able to extend our services and our ike to all who serve students. So my information, I am closer to 100 years old than I am to 50. I am closer to it, and I have no plans to retire unless someone tells me at Kamehameha schools you're fired. But even at that, even if I was relieved from this, my love for teaching will not stop. My love for teaching will not stop. And it will not stop because I am in the prime of my life with regards to ike. Yeah? In the years before, the long years before, it took me many, many years to hone the ike and the skills that commiserate with the ability to pass on information. So,
Can I
yes,
step
yes,
just for a second?
Please come in.
The only reason I want to step in is because we've been so fortunate over the past how many years it's been to be able to have the opportunity to be working with him, and for Kawaʻa to be specifically targeting a group of us that he's working with. I see a bunch of you over here online. I see Donna and Ali and Dana and Jenna and Riz and just a whole bunch of people who he has been working with people. I think it's very important, the passing on of this knowledge, but not just the passing on, the how hard he has worked to work with family. In the beginning, when he said he's a couple of thousand of people, it's at least 1,000 a year, and he's been doing this for over 10 years. There's the number of people every year with the number of boards that he has put back out into the community. We've seen, for us, it's been hard to keep up with the demand for kalo now that goes along with the making of all of those boards. That's been a huge tick up. I think that something that we might want to take a look at is what is our ability, each and every one of us, what is our ability to actually pass on the things that we're able to pass on, because he is working really hard and intentionally at passing on, and every one of you guys have things that are just precious and vital. And I think that's a great part of what he does.
Momi, you have more pictures to show pictures and talk.
Can you guys see it? I couldn't tell if you guys could see it.
It was on Momi.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay, you can see Kawaʻa. Okay, so if we were to start here, this hale, I mean, the tens of thousands of people who came to help to build this. And I mean, it didn't matter that it took as long as it took. That wasn't the important thing. The important thing was the number of people that were engaged in the building of this hale. Over 20,000 leaves were tied onto this place. This is just a tiny example of one site of the many sites, of the many classes where people come to learn how to carve board and stone. And as you folks know, part of that, it's not just learning to carve a board and stone. He has to take them out into the community and help other farmers and get everyone engaged. And as you can tell, everybody is invited. The women, the children, Kūpuna.
Momi, can you go back to the hale picture? Let me talk a little bit or a drop of pearl there. Yeah. So, gang, building the hale for Kawaʻa is more than just building the hale. One part of building the hale is called construction. People come and do this and do that and do this and do that. That's fine, but that's not how I teach. I am interested in teaching at the highest level. The highest post on this building has two names, and the names of those posts is called Kaupoku, and the other is Kauhuhu. So it is a name, but it is not enough for Kawaʻa to just say Kaupoku and Kauhuhu. I have the story that goes with those names, and that's what I mean by teaching at the highest level. Very quickly, yeah. Kaupoku refers to a ridgeline on Kauai, and there's a mo'olelo behind it. Yeah. Kauhuhu is the name of a shark of Molokai. Okay, you get the idea of the importance of breathing ha into the lesson. Momi, you're back on.
Oh, no, I think you're always on. Do you want to talk about this one? Oh,
we're showing the Taro Patch pictures, yeah. Go ahead, Momi.
Oh, okay. So the important thing about this one is I would go back to the very first class that we ever did. If you have not heard this story, it was truly the rainiest day of the year when we first stepped onto the land at the back of Waihole Valley. And I was waiting for him to call it and say, it's too dangerous to work today, or it's too rainy, whatever you want to say. But no, that was never a possibility with Kawaʻa. It doesn't matter how challenging the environment or whatever, we're going forward. So all these families brought, this is not the picture of that day, but all the families brought their Akana. They crossed the river. That was pretty exciting, on a 12-inch board with a screw in the middle, bouncing up and down with all of their things. And they cleared that entire field. The boys carrying the large rocks across the field, taking them to the men who were building a 30-foot long rock wall, while the families dug the ʻAuai in and the ʻAuai back out. And by the time we were done, there was a wall, the field was cleared, the water was coming in, and it was amazing. All of that work done, and it was only 2 hours later. And you really, really got that shift in your mind when you thought about, wow, the great and amazing things that our people could do. And they knew that they could do that. And it changed many of us who were there on that day with him, because we knew, wow, look what we did in only 2 hours, just following instructions from
Kamehameha. Yeah. Wonderful. It was the rainiest day. And in every situation that I'm involved in every day in my life, Pule is my centering. Pule has always been a practice of Hawaiians from the day of inception. The question for us all, as Hawaiians and others, does your day begin and end with a Pule? That is the basis of being Hawaiian, is Pule. Everything else is second to that. Tied to that story about the rainiest day, I looked up at the clouds from Kailua and I saw the clouds were heavy in Kaneohe. But as I looked further, I could see that in Waihole it was even greater. The clouds were darker there. And I knew that the storm was there, was centered upon that land. And I prayed and I asked God to lift the cloud to show sunlight, one little puka in there, and that it might shine upon us. Yeah. And it did, and it sent the rain over to Keala in Nanakuli, and it flooded Nanakuli, and they needed all the water they could get. Yeah. After the event was over, I said to the Rapoons, I prayed, and God didn't answer my prayer because it rained. And Charlie said, Kawaʻa, God did answer your prayer, because after the last person crossed the river back onto the other side of the river where the cars were parked, he said the face of the water crashed over the board. He said 15 minutes later, if you folks were on the other side, it would have been a tragedy. So he said, Pule does work. So I implore upon you the importance of pule as Hawaiians, as Hawaiian teachers, to make that a part of your life. Bordenstone is the beginning for other work that I do. By the way, gang, the word pule is a pearl. Yeah, you know the pearl. When I first started teaching Bordenstone, I did literally everything. I went into the forest, I cut the logs, I loaded up on my truck, I drove it up to Kalihi Valley, I unloaded and I shaped the board and I teach the class. I did absolutely everything for 3 years until Edana and Amy and Kikipi and Momi and Ben and all the others joined. So now there are at least 40 of us in Bordenstone class. There are 30 in Ho'oponopono class, and they carry over. To get into my Ho'oponopono class, you have to take Bordenstone class. That is a prerequisite. So how are we doing on time? Yeah. How are we doing on time?
Earl, you have about 12 minutes left.
12 minutes left. Might we be kind to ask one or two people to ask questions, and then Momi and I will take it. 12 minutes is not much time. And where does time fly?
I'm sorry, Earl, you have 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I'm sorry.
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been teaching Bordenstone at Kalihi now for 10 years. Bordenstone, the home of Bordenstone is in Kalihi. And what does that mean? Is that there are classes that are held in Nanakuli, but the training through Nanakuli classes is the base is Koka. There's a class in Waimanalo, and the base for the learning is at Koka. And in Papakole, it's at Koka. We hope to expand to other places as well. So for those, the phone is ringing, huh? Yeah, interference. So I can tell you is that I am beginning to sound like Kūpuna Hale. Kūpuna Hale passed away in her 80s, and you get to a certain age as Kūpuna Hale in that particular age where teaching was so important for her to share her knowledge. I can see that I am similarly like her, Kūpuna Woodside, my dad, my mom, Uncle Bill. We get to a certain age and we want to teach. And it is important for us to teach. And I'm always looking for individuals. I make ka ho'ike aku I ka hohonu. I'm always looking for students who are committed to learning at the deepest level. You know, our ali'i left for us some very, very, very nice phrases with regards to challenges. What did Kamehameha say during the time of battle, and he was about to lose the battle against Kahekili? He was about to lose that battle. What did he say? He said, "Inui kawai awa mau." That tells us that when you are faced with difficult times, drink the bitter water. That means you go through it. Yeah, you drink it because you need it, and you will make it through. Liliuokalani also tells us about the same thing. He says that you also are going to have hard times. And I'm going to put you in a situation where hard times, I don't want you to fight a battle because I don't want you folks all to die. So I'm going to give the land over until such time they see fit to return the land. Although she didn't say it like this, and I'm paraphrasing it to say this, and in your challenges, it says you must learn to eat stone. Ai pōhaku. Ai pōhaku. Each stone. Yeah? And you eat stone, but you stay alive. Not only did we learn to eat stone, I went to Pohoiki to do a class because a Kūpuna was ma'i. And so I learned from the Pohoiki people that during their hard times, they didn't have to eat stone. But they didn't have the taro wasn't blooming, the ulu wasn't blooming. There was very little. So they took coconuts, made strips of coconut, put salt in the coconut, and added nioi, chili pepper. So salt, chili pepper, and coconut with poi was their meal. These are tough times. These are a story about tough times, and you make it. Kūpuna writes in Lanikai, in Kailua said, she remembers chewing on the bone, putting her finger in salt, and eating salt, and then eating the poi. Those are hard times. We're going through hard times. We cannot make it alone. We need each other, and we need keakua. Yeah. E kahia ya kākou a pau ia keakua. I lohe mai nei o keakua ia mākou ta a e pana mai. If God is close to you, he will answer your prayer. So you want to keep God close to you. Because God can play deaf too, you know. Just like mom and dad and grandma. They play deaf too. Just like the kumu. We play deaf too. We want to keep God. We want to keep ourselves prime in our teaching. So Liliokalan says, each stone. Yeah. Emma says, reach for the highest. Reach for the highest. How high shall we go? And Luna Lilo's name tells us, Iluna, Iluna, Lilo Loa. Those words are not mine. Those words came from Abraham Akaka in 1978, where I was all handsome, good looking, full of hair. My chest was up. Yeah, I had no belly. Sitting in Kauai Church listening to Reverend Akaka. And he put the picture to those words, Iluna, Iluna, Lilo Loa. So if you can see me, you watch my hand. It says, Iluna, Iluna, Lilo Loa. Upward, upward to the highest. So our ali'is knew that education was important and living is going to be a challenge. So they leave for us these olelo no'iau and phrases to that which we can carry with us readily in our heads in short little phrases, also called the computer. I ask you these questions. Did Hawaiians have computers? Write me a 500-word essay on the word, did Hawaiians have computers? I can tell you yes, that Hawaiians did have computers. How will you answer the question? 3 of you should write to me and answer the question. Did Hawaiians have computers? My answer is yes, and I can verify it. Momi, Lele.
Okay.
How are we doing on time?
I think we're doing good on time. I would, if I could, I would love to remind you about just a situation that we had met with someone during in his training of the alaka'i for Ho'oponopono. He had met with a couple that they wanted to meet and have reconciliation as a couple who had already split up. And one of the things that as a mo'o on the wall, having no participation but just getting to observe his expertise with the couple, the one thing that was so that I'll never forget is how, you know, Kawaʻa calls it pa'akitola, just holding the line with the participants, because you could tell that one of them was reluctant to really, truly, heartfully apologize. And to the point where he had to literally feed the words into their mouth and have them reply. That wasn't good enough. Do it again, reply. Do it again, reply. And I'm sitting there watching like, wow, you're not letting him, I'm thinking in my head, you're not letting him just be real about his apology. But he could tell that he did not have practice. Some people have not apologized enough in their lives for the apology to come out the way it needed to come out, for the healing to start, and for the other party to really feel like that it was a real apology. And through the repetition of following him, which is something that he does so well, whether it's following him on how to carve repetitively, or how to tie something repetitively, or how to stack rocks where he's the last man standing, the oldest man in the room, and the one who will not stop. So all the younger people will be shamed by his work ethic. And trust me, it happens time and time again, where all of us are ready to fall and, oh my gosh, won't he just stop so we can go home? But with Kawaʻa, you don't stop until the job is done. And it's changed all of our ways of thinking, that you start a job, you finish a job. And it's not just finished because, oh, it's a time thing. It's the job is finished. And that is really has changed the way a lot of us think about what we're able to do. But with that couple, to see the apology have to be done over and over again with so many things. You may not get it right the first time, but you're just going to keep pushing through, and he's going to hold that line of excellence. The reason I would share this with you is because Kawaʻa can be tough, but in the end, it's going to work, and he's going to teach you something. And if you persist, you're going to learn on a higher level, which is what he's saying. And I think it's amazing the number of organizations that are represented here. We truly, like Kūkahakalo said, we truly cannot do this alone. And it's amazing that so many of us are here to work together and share what we know, because this is the time for us to be doing the best that we can do for the families who need it right now, at this moment, more than ever, everything that we can give them. So I think I'm definitely not speaking for myself when I say, I know that Kawaʻa, if you called him right now and said, hey, I need help with our organization, he drives me a little bit crazy, because the man has his hand in everything, and he always answers the call, and he will always say yes. And he works with more organizations than anybody else that I know. But if you need his expertise.
Yeah, so holding the line, pa'ake is an understanding that we all need to learn. You can all recall being in meetings, and there is a central kumuhana, and after 3 minutes that the meeting starts, there are 5 kumuhanas on the table. Ridiculous. A'ole I ka po'e kahiko e hana ana me ke lau. Our ancestors did not conduct business that way. So we learn to do that. But for some people, it's a way of avoidance, is to make it confusing. For me, when I hold meetings, I hold people to the subject. Just as Momi was talking about that individual who was in a group that needed help, the couple, Akikola, I didn't let him off the hook. Apology was not good enough. It had to be mihi. It had to seek forgiveness. So apology is a clinical, not good enough for Hawaiians. Mihi means you ask the person for forgiveness and you ask God for forgiveness. That's the difference. Now I'm jumping into therapy. So I have Western Ike and I have Hawaiian Ike. But I am guided in therapy and education by cultural knowledge and cultural understanding. And for us all is that we need to walk comfortably in both worlds to help our families and to help our students. How are we doing on time?
5 more minutes, Earl.
Five more minutes.
Now you should field questions.
No question. That's wonderful. That means they all got it. Okay, you all. It says 500 words. All of you, send it to me. Did Hawaiians have computers? Or who would like to answer that question? Someone take it. Someone take it from the audience. Someone who didn't take a class from me. You in California, in San Diego, answer the question.
Did Hawaiians have computers?
Did Hawaiians have computers?
There are some comments there. Lorianne said, yes, through our mo'olelo and mele. Lorraine
Wow.
said,
Can that person talk? Can somebody talk
I'll try
as
to
opposed to
unmute
reading
them
it?
for you. Lorianne is one of them.
Yeah, for those who are remaining, is that I'm not looking for a yes or no answer. I want somebody to come on and talk to us about it. Hawaiians, yes or no is not enough.
Lorianne, if you guys do want to speak, I think you'll have to unmute. For some reason, I can't unmute you. So if you guys can unmute yourselves to answer, if you choose to.
Aloha.
Oh.
So in my kanaka pu'uwai, I was raised with my grandparents. And my thoughts are like a computer from my heart and my mind.
Very good. Very good. Very good. So, for the remaining, let me answer that question for those of you here that said Hawaiians had computer. One, Hawaiians had computer. But you need to interpret, you need to vehe that word computer. You need to vehe. And the vehe, what does the computer do? The computer stores information. Did Hawaiians store information? We didn't have a machine to store information, but we Hawaiians are given to this very day what is called olelo no'eau. Olelo no'eau is equivalent to computer. In one olelo no'eau, pa'ake kaula are 7 points beneath it. So you don't remember the entire story, you remember key words and key phrases. Pa'ake kaula. Kaula'i kalima I kala. Yeah. Hohonu. Yeah. What else? Yeah. Kaula'i kalima I kala. Those are all phrases. Uku pau are all phrases with hundreds of stories in it. So did Hawaiians have computers? We didn't have the machine, but our computers are called olelo no'eau. I answered the question for you folks.
Okay, we're gonna, Kawaʻa, you want to wrap it up? Final words?
Final word? You take it first, and then I'll.
If I were to say anything, it would be to just reinforce with everyone here. You folks are all doing a wonderful job supporting your community. Keiki O Ka is always willing to work with you. Give us a call. While everyone else is working virtually, there's a tiny crew of us who are in the office. So feel free to just look us up and give us a call. We're always here. We love to partner. If there's something we can do to help from an education, family strengthening, cultural, or whatever else kind of program that we do that we can work with you, we're very willing. For us, this is a time to do the best that we can do for the families. There was never a more important time for us to try to partner with anybody who would like to partner with us. Kawaʻa.
Yeah. Mahalo adui loa ia oko I ho'olohe mei nei I kawaʻa no ka mo'olelo e pili ana no halava. I am grateful to meet all of you and to see your names at the bottom for tuning in and listening to this old man about his story and his babbling. Inherent in all of this is the passing on of information to the best of my ability for your learning. So our children, our moms and dads will thrive. The burden of education lies on each and every one of us. Kamehameha School and Momi, who has made herself available, is that we are as close to you as a text, as an email for help. Nui ka ike, lots of help. Nui ka poʻehana I kokua, lots of people to help. O kou, A Pau, e nina ku aku, e nina aku. You need to ask, e kahea ia kākou A Pau. Yeah. Me ke aloha o ke akua I pomaikai ia kākou A Pau. And the blessing of God go with us. Yeah, I malama ia kākou A Pau. Ke ola a Hawaiʻi. Aloha. Back to you, moderator.
Mahalo nui loa, Momi and Earl, for sharing today, and mahalo for the audience for participating. We will put in the chat your next session to move to. And then you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you.
Alo, aloha
Thank you for
ka.
helping.
Ahui ho.
Ahui wako ya oko A Pau.
Mahalo nui ala kala. Mahalo ala ke Momi.
Mahalo.
I just think that really, you get your grades up.
Mahalo kawaʻa. Mahalo